Welcome to the Autism Blueprint Podcast. I'm your host, Janeen Herskovitz, and it's my goal to help you create a more peaceful home while living with autistic and neurodivergent loved ones. Each episode, we focus on a different room in the house and help you create a peace plan for your home. So let's get started. Welcome to the Autism Blueprint Podcast. I'm thrilled to have you join us for this episode where we are deep diving into the transformative power of your mindset. And today I'm excited to welcome my dear friend, Dawn Mariotti. She's a talented mindset coach who has dedicated her career to helping individuals bridge the gap between where they are now and where they want to be. Dawn and I go way back. We met when our daughters were just 2 years old in preschool, and our friendship blossomed as we navigated the challenges of motherhood together. And I've always admired her passion for supporting others in their personal growth journeys. So in this episode, we'll explore how our beliefs shape our actions and how shifting our mindset can lead to profound changes in our lives. Dawn will share her insights on overcoming her limiting beliefs, the importance of creating a vision for our future, and how small, consistent steps can lead to significant transformations. We'll also discuss the unique challenges faced by parents and caregivers of neurodivergent and autistic individuals and how cultivating a supportive mindset can make all the difference. So whether you're a parent looking for encouragement or someone just interested in personal development, this episode is packed with valuable insights and practical tips. Oh, and be sure to listen till the end where Dawn and I talk about a moment that choked us both up a little bit, and you won't want to miss it. So let's jump in and discover how we can all embrace a mindset that empowers us to create the lives that we truly desire. Well, Dawn Mariotti, welcome to the Autism Blueprint Podcast. How are you today?
I'm so excited to be here. I love you, number one, and I love everything that you've done for the autistic community.
Oh, thank you. I put it in the introduction a little bit about how you and I know each other, but I'd love to hear from your perspective. What do you remember about how you and I met?
Well, we met with our little girls in 2-year-old preschool at Memorial Presbyterian Day School. I remember Becca just being over the top, amazing 2-year-old, and Avery and her just being best buds. And yes, of course, they were best buds, so we became best buds.
Yes. And that was, so it feels like it was forever ago. It has to be, how old are our girls? 25?
25, yeah.
We haven't aged a bit.
No. So. We still look 25.
That's right. You know, I have a memory of right before they started preschool, you and I were in a mom's group in the Catholic Church. Do you remember that?
Yeah, at St. Anastasia.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I always feel like, God, the universe, whatever, a higher power brought us together because you were my very first friend in Florida.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, which is funny because then Becca's very first friend was Avery, your daughter.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. So, just so my audience is aware of kind of my purpose for having you on, is to encourage them with a couple of things. One is to encourage them to still create friendships that support you. And the other is for you to talk about mindset shifts. And then maybe we can kind of merge kind of the two along the way. So Dawn, tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got there.
So it's been a long journey, but I am a mindset coach. I help people close that execution gap between the life they have now and the life that they want to create, or the goals they have now and the goals they want to create. I kind of help you step back from taking all the actions and start in the beginning with your limiting beliefs and your mindset, because you can take all the actions in the world, but if you don't believe that it's something that's you're capable of, if you don't have the mindset behind it, you're always going to default back to what's comfortable, like back to your comfort zone, back to what you know, back to your old habits. So I help people start with the hard part, which is actually thinking about your limiting beliefs, thinking about your mindset, thinking about your identity, and then work forward, because it's always easier just to start and go into action than it is to take the time to figure out the motivation behind the action.
Ah, okay. So tell us a little bit about why it would be helpful to know the motivation.
So let's just say, like, you tell yourself all the time, like, I'm just not an athletic person, but you have a goal to get in shape.
Mm.
And so now you've decided that you're going to go all in. You've joined a gym, you're going 5 days a week. And you do really good in the beginning because you're just doing sheer willpower. But your mindset is telling you, I'm not an athletic person. I'm not an athletic person. And it's going to feel like a struggle. It's going to feel like an uphill battle every time you're going to the gym. But if you take the time first and you start saying, I'm the kind of person who is trying to do good things for my body, or I'm the kind of person who's growing and changing. If you start there, then taking that action into going to the gym and doing the workout, it's going to be a lot easier because your mind's going to be on board and not fighting you.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. And then I would imagine that when you get to a point where you kind of, that usually for me, it's like 3 days in where I'm like,
Yep.
I don't really need to do it today. I'll take a
Mm-hmm.
break.
Yeah.
Then the mindset comes in. Is that right?
Right. Yeah, your mindset and your identity. So, like, I identify as a walker. Like, that is part of my identity. So for me, it's easy to get up at 5:30 every morning and go for a walk. It's just who I am, you know?
And how did you get there? How did you decide I'm a walker now?
Because I just I want to do something active for my body every day. Walking is something that I actually enjoy. It's easy. It's so silly. Like, you, how can you not go for a 5 minute walk every day? You know, like, it's so easy, so doable. It has great benefits. So it's
Mhm.
just something that I wanted to be part of my identity. I'm a walker. I'm somebody who gets up and walks every morning.
I love that. And so I'm imagining that this didn't just come naturally to you, that there was probably a bit of a journey.
No, no, no. So, I have studied personal development probably for, I don't know, 30 years or so, because I had all these limiting beliefs about myself. One of my biggest one was, I didn't get diagnosed with my learning disability until I was in fifth grade.
Mm.
Um, Before that, all I'd heard from all my teachers was, Dawn's really bright, but she doesn't try hard enough. Dawn's really bright. She's capable of doing the work. She's just lazy. So it really instilled a belief in me very young that my best was never good enough because I was really trying my best. I just wasn't getting the results. And then I had these teachers who were well meaning, but they were saying things like, yeah, you're really smart, but you're just not doing the work. So, and I carried that with me for a long time. That was my biggest mindset shift that I had to make, was that yes, my best is good enough. I'm good enough, you know? So, and that's really what started the whole mindset shift. It was my book. It was all the stuff that the tools and techniques that I had used to
Mhm.
help me get to shift my mindset. And I, it's what I used. So I knew if it helped me, it was going to help other people too.
I love that. I love that. And I feel like that what you just said there is such a good antidote to that imposter syndrome that we all feel sometimes. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you're just speaking on your experience and then combined with your training as a mindset coach, and then you're combining the two, which is very similar to what I do as well, right? We take our life experience and our own growth, and then we try to help others with it. And that's just something that I felt like you were born to do. I mean, just because I've known you for so long, you were like my personal life coach. I think we did that for each other, right?
Yeah, we
When we were
totally
new,
did.
gosh, we were new mommies. We didn't know what the heck we were doing. And
Mm-hmm.
we were trying to, at least I felt like I was trying to do it all right, look good while doing it, make sure I was thin enough, make sure I did, there's all these things that, especially for women, and I know there's a whole bunch of things that men deal with too, but especially for women, when we're the ones that kind of take the brunt of the child rearing still. How has a mindset shift for you changed you as a mom?
Uh, so both of my kids, I will tell you, want to get this right. Um, my son, Byron, he's graduated now from FIT. He's out in the real world doing his own thing. But he tells me that he is so blessed to have a mom that made him look at everything from all different perspectives.
Mm.
Um, ugh. He was like, Mom, you've given me the biggest gift because I know that within me, I can't change other people, but I can change the way I think about things.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
Yeah. And so that's been like the biggest thing as a mom is always giving them that, like, hey, like, not everything in life is going to be perfect, but how you react to it is going to change how you feel about it and how it's going to turn out for you.
Yes, yes, and I think that that's crucial for our audience, which is mostly moms and dads and caregivers of neurodivergent and autistic individuals. Which I want to go back to what you said before. It just broke my heart thinking of you in fifth grade and a teacher saying you weren't trying hard enough. But that was kind of the generation we grew up in. It was like if you were falling behind, you weren't trying hard enough.
Right.
There was something else you could still do, that you weren't
Mm-hmm.
doing. And, that attitude is still pervasive today with a lot of kids, especially with learning disabilities and neurodivergence, is it just seems as though they could do it. You can do it over here, but you can't do it over here.
Right.
So, yeah, that had to, gosh, did that stay with you just for most of your life, that
Yeah,
belief?
most of my life, especially when I was actually trying to write the book. I had a lot of it, like, I thought I had dealt with it, and I had a lot of it come back up. Like,
It'll
this
do
isn't
that.
good enough. You should write this differently, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you were actually doing the mindset work while you were writing the mindset book.
Yeah.
Which is great,
I
which
was
is
doing
how
my
you
own
know that.
research.
Yeah, exactly,
Mm-hmm.
which is how you know that this works. I
Yeah.
mean, um, I feel like mindset is something that we don't always, think about. We think willpower,
Yeah.
right? Like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what do you feel like, what kind of transformations have you seen with the people that you're working with?
And so I love doing so I always start out with our identity, like where are you now, what are like some words that you use to describe yourself, how do you think other people would describe you. So we start there, and then next we create a vision of like where you want to be. And this is my favorite thing to do. It's crazy that everything in this world started with a vision. This computer we're talking on was somebody's mind, was their in their vision, and then it became a reality. There's nothing in this world that wasn't first created in your mind. But we don't spend 10, 15 minutes, like not even a day in a year, thinking about the vision of the life we want to create. So when you
Mm,
give people that time and space to sit down and actually think about what they want in life, how do they want to live, what are their goals, what do they want to create in life, you give people that space where they can sit down and actually take the time to create the vision. That's my favorite part about what I do as a coach, is seeing somebody's vision. And then we go through and identify the gaps between where they are now, the mindset and the identity they have now, and the mindset and the identity that they want to create. And so we find those gaps. And then when we find those gaps, that's when we start creating these micro habits. I can't stress that enough. You don't change the world overnight. It's those small, consistent, um, tiny steps that's going to get you to your goal faster than trying to rearrange your life in one day. And
mm.
then that's what we work on.
I love that. I,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's especially important just for me as an autism parent. I keep myself stuck often, like when it's hard to find a babysitter. So I tend to go, well, we're that family that no one wants to babysit for, or we're that family who, and it kind of has pigeonholed a lot of things.
Yeah.
that we do or don't do.
Mhm.
And I hear that a lot from the clients that come in my office and talk about feeling stuck.
Yeah.
When someone comes to you and says that they're just kind of feeling stuck, they just can't really move forward. Where do you start?
We start with where they're at right now. Like, talking about why do you feel stuck? What areas do you feel stuck? What would it feel like if you were unstuck? What are some of the things you would do if you were unstuck? And again, that's kind of like going from where you are now to where you want to be, and then finding those gaps and how can we bridge those gaps? How can we make these transformations to take you from why you're feeling stuck? What would it feel like if you were unstuck? And what changes can we make to accomplish that?
Oh, that really makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as a coach, what kind of clients generally come to you? Are they mostly women? Are they mostly moms?
I mostly work with women going through that transition in life of like becoming an empty nester, or
Mm.
you have grown children now and you're not needed as much. So what is your new role? Because you've been mom for the last 20 plus years, and now you're not necessarily mom anymore. Who are you? What's this new identity? You've got this whole second half of your life to do some amazing things. What are things that you've put on the back burner um, while you were raising your kids, and let's make them happen now?
Oh, I
And
love
yeah, and that whole like, you think that it's too late. It's never too late. I mean, I wrote this book at 53.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a mindset shift too. And I think, some of these mindsets that we carry into adulthood also come from the people who raised us. Again,
Mm-hmm.
they did the best they could, just like we did the best we could. But some of these mindsets, I think at one point someone had told me that I didn't look good in beige. So you will never catch me in beige unless
Yeah.
I've got like a lot of color, you know what I mean? Like it's
Mm-hmm.
just, and so I had to challenge that. Or I don't have a bikini body, which I don't, but let's just use that as an
Yeah.
example. It's just these things where, I'm not a creative person is also
Mm-hmm.
something that I've said a lot. And it's funny because now I find myself painting and doing art, with my husband at night, which is just crazy. Like the mindset shift really can change not only your life, but your relationships.
Yes, that's so true. And that's the second chapter in my book. It's like finding out all these stories you've told yourself. Either you've told yourself, you've made an assumption about a situation, or like you said, like a well-meaning parent or teacher said these things to you. And it
Mhm.
can be, I'm not creative, or oh, you're so helpful. That turns you into a people pleaser, because like, oh, I have to be the helpful one. That's what they told me I was. Um, I'm not athletic because you tried to play kickball in elementary school and you weren't good at it. And so you've
Oh, how did you
internalized,
know?
yeah, that you're not athletic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we carry around a lot of those identities and stories, and they're not even ours. They're just things, stories people told us and we believed, but that doesn't make them true.
Oh, absolutely. So how do you help? Is there anything you do in particular to help a person kind of explore those? Like what if someone is saying, gosh, I don't even know what my beliefs are?
Yeah. So a lot of journaling.
Mhm.
I'm a big journaler. I write it down, get it out. I also have some guided meditations that you should listen to before you journal that help you get in that right frame of mind to like let your walls down. Some
Nice.
people feel really pressured when they see a white sheet of paper and a journal question. So
Yeah.
this just kind of like gets your brain in that way of thinking before you start writing.
Yes, I love that. In case one of your beliefs is, I'm not a writer, I'm not a journaler.
Yep, exactly.
Wow. I- so are there like you talk a little bit about kind of how mindset shifts change you as a person. How do you see it change relationships between people? Like have you seen that either in yourself or in your clients?
So, yeah, mindset. When it comes to relationships, it can totally change your relationship because it changes the way you think, not only about yourself, but also about other people.
Mm,
Um, and the one of the best ways I say to change a relationship is with gratitude. If you're having issues with your husband, let's say, if you can like just write down three things that you're grateful for, you
mm.
know, of let me say that again. If you can write down three things that you're grateful for because of him, it will change your whole mindset around him or why you're even mad. Gratitude is the biggest mindset changer you can have. If you
I
can find a reason to be grateful in the situation, it's going to change the way that situation affects you.
Absolutely. I mean, I think so much of our lives and what we worry about and what we're anxious or depressed about is really just in here.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've had times when my kids are super well behaved and I'm miserable, or times when they're off the chain and I'm good. But it wasn't like that back in the day. I know you remember.
Mm-hmm.
Our feelings are like deeply
Yeah.
connected, to our children and to our loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
And we somehow always think that we have more power than we do sometimes, kind of
Yes.
over. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
because we only have power over ourselves. We have
Right.
influence over our children, but at the end of the day, they're the only ones that can control themselves.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so that I think becomes particularly important as they enter adulthood. We both
Mm-hmm.
have kids in their 20s. And it's kind of, you kind of feel like, well, however they are now is kind of like, I've done my job,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not necessarily true. And so there's this balance between having an adult relationship with your children and still guiding them.
Right.
How do you strike that balance?
It's hard because you
Mhm.
have to let them make their own mistakes. Um,
Mm,
and you can just look at yourself. Your mom could tell you anything, and when you were in your 20s, she could tell you anything, and she would be wrong. You know, and it's no different with them. So it's allowing them to have the grace to make their own decisions, even if you know it's not the right decision. Um,
mm,
but this is their journey, and so they're going to have to figure these things out on their own because I know my mom couldn't tell me anything. But
that's cool. Yeah.
the flip side of that is you also have to be the safe space to fall. And you
Mm,
can't start with, I told you so.
right. Right.
So
That
you need,
never helps anybody.
no, no. And that just makes them close off even more. You're
Yeah.
not that safe space if you're like, I told you so.
Right. What do you
Mm-hmm.
feel like makes a safe space?
Listening.
Mm,
You have to listen and not interject. And that's been a hard one for me because I'm a talker and I want to fix everything.
yeah.
Um, so sometimes my daughter just needs to come to me and talk and vent, and I need to not say anything. And it's crazy that, like, I would say probably 7, 8 times out of 10, she comes to her own conclusion and she's not really, she's talking like to herself, but I'm there to listen, but she's actually talking and working it through herself.
Yes. Yes, that makes so much sense. Um, there's been so many times in my journey of parenting where I think I know what's best, and I think the trajectory that my child is on is where they're supposed to be, and I'm wrong almost every time because they prove that they're their own person. I remember my daughter, coming home from she had gone to some kind of workshop or something, and coming home and saying, I'm not going to finish college. I'm going to go to a conservatory in New York. And I was kind of like, wait, what? I'm sorry, what? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're the kind of people who raise college educated kids. And
Yeah.
so I had to really look at if she doesn't go for the college degree. And this, I mean, it sounds so petty to say it out loud, but I really did have to work on this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to say my daughter graduated from college. And it was a fleeting thought, but it was in
Mhm.
there, right? It
Yeah.
was in there because I was taught that a grown adult needs a college degree.
Right.
And as things change and shift, I think we as parents need to consider that we're not living in the same times as we were when we were in our 20s. And
Hmm.
our parents didn't live in the same time that, you know, every generation has something else, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. And the other side of that too is you had to change your identity because you were like, we're the kind of people who graduate from college. Like, that was your dream. That's not her dream.
Right.
So that's
Right.
your identity as I'm a mother that raises college kids. And you had to change that because that wasn't her path.
Yeah. And I think that
Mhm.
I know for the autism parents out there listening, they're probably thinking, "Oh yeah, well we did this, but it was like baptism by fire, right? It
Mhm.
was you're not going to have a typical child and they may not be able to do some of the things that you wanted them to do, or maybe they can do them, but it's going to take extra work,
Right.
you know, therapies and things like that. And it
Mhm.
doesn't mean they can't. I've found it difficult striking the balance, and a lot of my clients have too, between telling ourselves something that is pie in the sky, maybe sugar coated,
Mhm.
as opposed to realistic. Does that make sense? Like, if I'm going to change my mindset and say, okay, I'm not someone who is going to have, you know, I don't have to have a college educated child to be a good mom,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
If I'm not believing that, but I'm just telling myself that, like, where does the shift happen? Does it
Okay,
happen in
so
what I'm telling myself?
yeah, so if you're telling yourself, but you yourself don't believe it, there's going to be a lot of internal conflict around that.
Got it.
Um, so again, I'll go back to journaling. I would say I would start with questions like, why is it important to me as a mom that I have a college educated kid?
Mm,
Start writing like that. What does it say about me as a mom if I don't have a college educated kid? Because sometimes it's that fear of judgment, like, oh, other parents are going to judge me because my kid didn't finish college.
right.
Um, and as you start going through that, you'll start to, like, the vines will start to unwind of the reasons behind that belief.
Yeah. It is amazing when we start writing things down, even if it's just a stream of consciousness or a bullet
Mm-hmm.
list, you know, or just something that we can get out of here and
Mm-hmm.
out here so we can look at it clearly.
Yeah, there's always like these little nuggets that are hidden back here, way down. And when you start writing, it's like they have permission to show up.
I love that.
Yeah.
That
The
is
big one
actually
for me was it was my mom. My mom, because, my daughter didn't finish college and she's in hair school. She's like 8 classes away from finishing. But she wants to go to hair school.
Mhm.
And so my mom was very upset about that. And I was like, you know what? Maybe Avery's path isn't in college. Like, she had a great time. I get that she's really close to finishing, and that might be something she chooses to do later. But right now she's on this other path and she's really happy and she's really successful. So let's just support her in that path.
Wow. How did she
Mhm.
respond to that?
And she was okay. Um, she was, and I get what she was saying. She was like, I don't want the money to have gone to waste. And I said, it's never a waste. Look at all the amazing experiences she had through college that she would have never had, if she hadn't gone away. She got to go to Spain. She's a level 2 sommelier. She knows so many things in life she doesn't want now, and now
Yes.
she knows what she wants. And sometimes I think that's the hardest part in life, is you have to go through what you don't want to figure out what you do want.
Oh, that is so, so true. And I'm seeing that a lot in neurodivergent young adults who come to us and say, I'm late diagnosed, or
Mhm.
I know I'm neurodivergent and I don't know what to do with this. And now I'm stuck. because my family sees me one way and they want me on this one path and I want to go on this other path.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a lot of courage to go off the path.
Yes, it really does. To listen to yourself, a lot of self trust. And we're so used to on social media, how many likes did we get? Do people approve of this? But to sit down and say, I want to take a different path and I know this is what's right for me, it takes a
Mhm.
lot of self reliance, resilience, and self trust.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And what you brought up about your mom, thank you for sharing that because that's so crucial. I hear so often from our listeners that extended family is sometimes the most difficult to convince of why you're doing something as a parent.
Yes.
And, my answer is always, well, this is your child and you get to make the rules and everybody else can pound sand. But that doesn't always land very well.
Mm-mm.
It's kind of like just, you can't just stop worrying about it. There's these layers to it.
Mm-hmm.
What would you suggest someone do? Because I know there's a lot of our listeners out there that have this problem that they're kind of fearful to bring their child around extended family members because if they act out and then the parent doesn't discipline that child in the way that the extended family members think they should,
Mm.
then they get judged and then their child is could be mistreated or shunned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
And you won't be
yeah,
invited back to the family barbecue or yeah.
right, right.
And and I think that's every parent's fear, that you're out in public and your child goes off the rails and you don't respond the way everybody thinks that you should respond.
Right.
That goes back to you have to have that resilience in yourself that you're doing what's best for your child. It's not everybody else's world. This is your world and your child, and you're doing the best you can. And while they may be like have good meaning or maybe they are trying to give you great advice, your child is unique, your situation is unique, and it's not going to be handled in a cookie cutter way.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know
So yeah, I know that sometimes.
and I
Yeah,
think you have to. I'm big on I think everybody tries to do things with a good heart. They're trying to give you advice with a good heart. And so
yeah.
you need to keep that in mind. You might be feeling that they're judging you for the way you're handling the situation with your child. And instead of thinking that they're judging you, know that they're coming with a good heart. They just
Mhm.
don't have all the information.
Oh yes, absolutely.
And I
They
think
do.
that will
Yeah,
change your attitude towards them and their attitude towards you.
yeah, yeah.
That's a mindset
And
shift.
absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. I love what you just said there because I think what helped me most, and I'm just going to embarrass you a little, what helped me most as a new mom was when I would say something questioning. I remember thinking about sending Ben to school, right? So you were with me when he was diagnosed or just right after he was diagnosed. And then
Mm-hmm.
we both had our daughters around the same time. And I just remember saying to you, we were doing a home program and saying to you, like, gosh, I probably should enroll him in school. He's almost 6. I think it's probably time. And you just looked at me and said, but you told me that what you're doing is working and that you're enjoying it and that's what you want for your child. So why would you do that? And I thought at the time I was like, yeah, like she you were like the first person to see me for, the way that I was parenting my children, and I don't even know if you remember that, but you were just
Yeah.
like, "Well, this, I you were speaking life into me, like saying, "But this is who you are. This is who I know you to be."
Right.
And that's happened on so many occasions with you and I that I probably have never shared with you, but and I'm telling that to say to our audience, get a friend who gets it. I
Yeah.
mean, and you were always that friend who you didn't have an autistic child, but it didn't matter.
Yeah.
because your heart was always so accepting and open. And I think that the mommies out there that are looking for someone to understand, it doesn't even necessarily need to be somebody that's in your shoes. It just needs
Right.
to be somebody that knows how to love you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you were
And
good at
see
that.
you for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, anytime that I tell the story of the first time that my son escaped from our yard
Mhm.
and we needed police and helicopters and all of that, my daughter, I want to say they were around 12 or 13, maybe even
Mhm.
younger. They might have been 10 or 11.
Yeah, I think like early um middle school, late elementary, somewhere in there.
Yeah, and I just remember I was on my way home from work and I'm just texting everybody that I can to say, Ben's missing, pray that we find him.
Mhm.
And you came over, took my daughter, left, texted me and said, I've got Becca. I'm keeping her for the night because we didn't know how it was going to end,
Right.
right? And so just the fact that I didn't have to ask for that,
Yeah.
and you didn't say, what can I do? Because if you had, I would have gone, oh, nothing. I'm fine.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
fine. My kid's just missing and we may never find him, but I'm good.
Yeah. We're good. I'm gonna cook dinner.
We're good.
Yeah.
We'll just do takeout. We'll do pizza tonight. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And I
that
think
was
that's what
amazing.
people need to realize, that sometimes you're in that situation where you it's nice when people ask, what can I do? But
Mhm.
sometimes you just can't even figure out what you need for somebody to do. And we can all empathize in that situation, like what would be the most helpful, without me having to tell, without you having to say, come get Becca. In that situation, for me, the easiest thing for me is if somebody would come get my children, that I wouldn't have to worry about them and I could focus simply on finding Ben,
Yeah.
you know? So that's why I was like, well, I'm just going to go get Becca. She'll come spend the night and they'll have a great time and we'll figure out what tomorrow brings, you know?
Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
that was just so, so crucial. If I hadn't had that, I think it would have been a different day for me. So
Yeah.
that's just to let people out there know that if you are friends with a family that has a child that tends to escape, it's it's really hard because you set yourself up for judgment as well
Hmm.
in a lot of ways. But I'll just always remember that and be so grateful to you for that. That was just so cool.
Yeah.
So I say that to say that your mindset, I think, has always been from such a caring and heartfelt place that your book, which I want to show everybody, and we'll link to it in the show notes, The Mindset Shift. It's such a good read. It really is. I mean, I it's nice to read something that isn't about autism, but it applies. Do you know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, totally applies to how we as parents need to kind of just examine the mindset that we have both for our children and ourselves.
Hmm.
Um, what I don't want to take up too much more of your time, so I want to
You're
ask
fine.
one more question before you go.
Okay.
If every autism parent in the world were listening,
Hmm.
what would you want them to know about mindset?
So the first time I ever got exposed to mindset was a poem that you shared with me after Ben's diagnosis. And the poem was that they were going to go to Paris, but they ended up in Holland. And they had planned all these things in Paris, but they landed in Holland, and Holland was also a pretty great place. And that's what mindset can do for you. No matter what you're going through, if you can find gratitude, if you can find something good about it, it's going to make it a great place. It might not be Paris, but it's still going to be a good ride and a good trip. So that's what I
Yeah.
would say. Um, is the way you think about things is normally the way they're going to turn out.
Ah, I love that. Ah, you
Mm-hmm.
got me. All
I know.
right. You're
I know.
the first one to get me. That's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Well, Dawn, thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us about mindset. If people want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
On social media, I'm Dawn Mariotti, and my website is dawnmariotti.com.
All right, great. And we'll link
I
to
keep
all
it
of those
simple.
things. That's beautiful. And we'll link to everything, including your awesome book in the show notes.
Yeah.
And thanks so much for coming on.
It was awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. That's it for today on Autism Blueprint. If you would like to be my neighbor or even a house guest, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/autismblueprint. We have just launched this Patreon page and we have Discord rooms where you guys can gather and talk about different topics. And I just wanted to let you guys know about it so that if you see this floating around, you'll be the first to know. So here's a little commercial that we put together about it, gives you all the information. Hey friends, this is Janeen Herskovitz, host of the Autism Blueprint podcast. I have some exciting news about some upcoming features we're going to have for our listeners and our fans. We have a Patreon page, which has 3 tiers of membership. The first tier being free, where you can just sign up and be updated on the things that we're doing, get emails about the latest episodes, as well as any special events that we might be having. So if you want to stay in the loop, you definitely want to check it out, and that's free of charge. Our $5 tier, which we're calling Be My Neighbor, the Be My Neighbor tier gives you access to several of the virtual chat rooms where you can meet up with other parents and professionals that are like-minded, where you can ask each other questions and just kind of get to know each other. You know, it's difficult sometimes as parents of autistic kids to get out and meet other people. It's one of the biggest issues that I hear about. So these chat rooms, just like old school chat rooms, we're using Discord for that, are really a great way to connect with other people. The $20 tier, for $20 a month, you can be what we're calling a house guest. So to be an Autism Blueprint house guest, $20 a month, and you get access to all of the chat rooms, not just some, but every one of them. You get monthly webinars. You'll get Q&As with me and sometimes with some of our guests. And you'll get bonus content like in-depth discussions with some of our favorite guests that we've had on the show. So be sure to check it out at our Patreon link. It's patreon.com/autismblueprint. And we hope to see you there.
The information in this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for help from a licensed mental health professional.